Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, badasses.
So welcome to our first Unfiltered Perspectives panel. Today, we have brought two individuals from the No BS tribe. So we have Jen Lacey, who's up in the top right-hand corner, and Jesse Hernandez in the bottom right-hand corner. And then, of course, my lovely co-host, Kate, is with us. And we're going to have our very first panel conversation today. We're doing it monthly. And so this was really something that was inspired by all of you. And so I just wanted to say hello to everyone and have you say hello back to us. I can already see people coming in. So just let us know that you're here. And so since Jesse and Jen, Jesse's actually been on with us before, but I thought that it might make sense just to say hello to those that don't know you. And so, Jen, would you like to just give a little bit of an introduction to yourself? Who is Jen to the universe, the omniverse, as Jesse always says?
Absolutely. So good morning, everyone. Let me think in a nutshell. I co-host No BS with Jen and Jess with Jesse, and we've been doing that for a little over 2 years. And our focus, which is so aligned with this with this conversation, is how are we having creating the space for uncomfortable conversations that people usually shy away from. And we both come from construction, and he can do his bio. But so I've been in construction for 20 years, very much focus on that lean, continuous improvement opportunity, the space within construction. And a lot of the things that we talk about sometimes get a little uncomfortable. And so that we really focus on leaning into those with vulnerability, authenticity, just a lot of the things that we're probably going to talk about today. So,
yes, Jesse.
What's going on, everybody? Well, contrary to popular belief, I actually kind of have a job and not just on LinkedIn all the time. But yes, I do get to be on stage with Jennifer every other week. And we have one tomorrow on the No BS with Jen and Jess live stream, which I know y'all, Sarah, you're a huge supporter. Kate, like, you know what the community's like. It's super, super amazing.
It really is.
I've been in the industry since 1995. Started off with my hands on the tools and the plumbing side of the business, and now I help construction professionals amplify their influence by making small, tiny mind shifts in the way that they communicate and the way they do problem solving. Which for me is like the ultimate, because I get to tinker on behaviors and mental models and all these wonderful things to produce business results.
I love it.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the biggest thing for people to understand is that because of Jen and Jess, I watched a show of theirs, and that's actually what inspired us to start our show. So that's why I was like, I can't really think of anybody that would be better co-host to join us for our first Unfiltered Perspective panel, because you guys really, like, I was already going down that line in a lot of ways. And then I messaged Kate and I was like, and I can't imagine doing it with anybody else for us co-hosting, because we would have all these behind the scenes conversations with each other that were just unfiltered, literally unfiltered, talking about any topic you can imagine. And whenever I saw you guys, I was like, oh shit, we're about to do things, public on LinkedIn, and professional people seeing the stuff we say. Oh my gosh, here I was doing it on Facebook, but not in the professional world. And I was like, let's dive in, let's do it. And so I'm super excited about today's conversation, because we have 4 people that are definitely unfiltered.
Yeah, I think actually, as we're talking about words, that's kind of one of my favorites, is unfiltered. I want that. I like authentic. I like real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh, we have someone here from Nigeria.
Nice. Well, let's say hello to our audience. We have people saying hello. And so Renee Davidson is joining us. She says, good morning.
Good
I
morning.
just
I know
spent so much time with her this week in DC. So
Yeah.
great to see you, Renee, as always.
And Mia, she says, whoop, whoop, good morning. And so
Morning.
glad you're joining us today, this morning. Mia and Bruce is on. Hey, guys. Where's our good morning badass? You know,
Man, Bruce,
Where's the purple heart? Fridays
yeah.
are purple.
We haven't seen you on Saturday morning, so hopefully this is a carryover for tomorrow. I'm hoping.
It is. Yeah, she's calling you out, Bruce. Sean, I think Sean is new for us. So he says, good morning, all. Our words have so much power. So welcome. So everybody, welcome Sean and say hello to him. So Sean, would love to better understand how you found us, and welcome joining us today. And we have Kim Stamps. Good morning to all you amazing badasses. And then we have Stephanie. Stephanie has actually recently joined Full Sail Partners. And so she's joining us as well. She said, top of the morning to you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Stephanie.
We have Steve.
More good.
So,
She really is.
yes, she really is a big deal.
Big deal.
Carmen, she said, good morning, beautiful badasses.
Good morning,
And
Carmen.
this is a new person you were talking about. And so he
Wow.
said, greetings from Nigeria. So glad you're here. Oh, he's also calling you out, Jesse, so you didn't feel out of,
Yeah.
left out.
Steve is our No BS chief marketeer for a reason. He's trying to make sure that the PR part is still going strong.
I love that about him.
That's awesome.
Yep. He says he is here. And then Bruce, okay, finally, he gave us his purple hearts.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right, awesome. So I want to start off maybe asking, I think I'm going to start with this one. So maybe let's just start easy. I want to understand from not only our panel, but also from our audience, what words do you like? Like, what words sort of resonate with you? Maybe Jen, can I start with you?
Yes, we can start with that. So the words that I like, and it's not just like this is the one word.
Mhm.
I am very much focused on, we live in a world and I work in an industry that hasn't been very nice to people. And so, and I run across a lot of situations and a lot of conversations where, you can just see people like they're just, they're struggling maybe a little bit and they maybe just want to matter to somebody and, and when, what they're doing to matter. And so my words that are important to me and ones that I try to focus on are ones that let people know I see them and let people know that I recognize what they're doing. So my favorite one is amazing. Because one, it's not something a lot of people get to hear very often, and I don't use it frivolously, but I am very intentional when I see something that resonates with my heart or that I am just that's super cool. I want to make sure that people know that. And so without it just passing by and I'm like, oh, that's a cool shirt. I'm like, hey, I love your shirt. That's freaking amazing. Like, and then they kind of like smile and you can see that it kind of, helped them a little bit. And so my words, the ones that I like the most are the ones that kind of inspire and help people know that I see them.
I like that. Jesse, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that my favorite type of words are action-oriented words and strong, clear words that elicit response, reaction, emotion, whatever you want to call it. An example of that is failure. Like when I've been chastised. Now, I shouldn't say chastised. Gotten special attention about like, whoa, is it really a failure? Like, yes. Like we failed to meet the objective. That doesn't mean you're a failure.
Right.
What did we learn and what are we going to do differently? Right. So like not muddying the water around the fact that we didn't achieve the target or didn't do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we failed and I'll do it quite out. Like when I'm talking to somebody or I made a commitment, I'll email you that in the morning. I got tied up. It's after lunch. My email will say, I failed to meet my commitment. And here's the thing. Thank you for being patient. And what I typically get is, you're too hard on yourself. Like, how am I hard on myself? Like, I failed to meet the commitment. That's not abusive. Now, I understand why it causes a response. And that's really the reason why I use it, is so that we can get extra clear. Some other examples of that are yes and no. That kind of, maybe I will hope to, like, let's get clear about what the hell we're going to do, and let's go do something.
I like those. Kate, how do you react to all of those, and what are yours?
Ooh, well, I love all of these so far. I mean, I think there's so many great words out there, right? And I love some of our comments. People are kind of bucketing things like,
I love words,
they're like self-awareness words, or, like, I think it's a little easier to kind of maybe put them in buckets. But for me, the words, I'm a little bit leaning towards, like what Jen said about seeing people. Like, I like the word validation. I like to be a part of validating someone. I like to feel validated when I'm, feel heard. I also really love the word fuck. It's like one of my favorite words. And I use it in good and bad and all sorts of ways. It's passion for me. Like it's a passionate word. And so I love it. And I think it's probably one of my dad's favorite words too, depending on how often I heard it growing up, if we were just to measure. So I think for me, it's also kind of nostalgic, which is funny, right? I love, the other words that I love is I love people to, I love love. So I love the word love. I use it all the time. I heart things. There's so much good out there, and I love it all. So love is one of my favorite words.
Yeah. Well, we got some comments coming in, and then I'll talk about some of the words that mean something to me. So Bruce, I'm trying to get back to it. Here we go. He had curiosity and imagination, and then he also had creativity and engagement. And so what do you guys think about those words?
I love that. I love to get curious. Curious is a great thing. It's one of the biggest things my therapist taught me was to get curious, not internal. Get curious about why you're feeling a certain way, or why you're choosing to act a certain way,
Yes.
And then when you're faced in a difficult situation, curiosity is huge, right? It can help you if you take a point where you're feeling defensive or offended, and instead you internalize that into curiosity. So you kind of let that initial icky feeling kind of float down the river, like it may come back, it may not, but we're just going to kind of observe it for now. And then we're going to get curious, like, tell me more. What's going on behind that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, Kate, like the curiosity, I think is a phenomenal fuel source for connection. Because when people demonstrate interest and curiosity in me, I feel valued. And what ends up happening is I feel connected to that person, and I want more of them because they made me feel valued. And so when I demonstrate curiosity in other people, my assumption is that it has the same effect. And so it works on both sides of the fence, right? If when I'm pissed at somebody, it takes a minute, but I do ask myself, okay, but where could they be coming from? They may not even have noticed that they offended me.
Right.
It could be coming from a better place. So I got to get curious to kind of get past myself. And if I'm just deliberately curious about the person, the human beings in front of me, it forms a connection that is rare out there in the world at large.
Right.
Well, I want to add to what Jesse just said, that human connection piece. It's what made me, that engagement word that Bruce used. And Jesse and I use that word a lot for different reasons. But engagement for me goes back to Jesse liking those action words, those things that drive action. And for me, engagement is intentional. And so whether it's my intention for helping, facilitate engagement, or I'm going to be intentional in engaging with someone else. And there's a lot of spaces that most of us are in that people can just sit and not be engaged and not, contribute or not connect. And, we, I guess, pride ourselves in really trying to focus on how can we help bridge that human connection, but also like there's a lack of it. And if we're not helping that engagement, then we are missing out on some things.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the word curiosity. I love it for all the reasons. That's one of the things I really had to learn for myself as well. And again, it was going to therapy, talking to someone and them saying, well, get curious about that. Like, when you're triggered, like that's an invitation for you to get curious. And so I really do like that word because it's going inward. It's understanding more about yourself and your motives and why it is that you might be doing the things that you're doing. So I do love that particular word. Mia also said, correct me if it's Maya instead of Mia, kindness, emotional intelligence, and support. What do you guys think about those words?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think support's been really important to me over the last couple of years as I've been parenting Oscar as he moved from this role of, I wasn't the parent. I literally had no control. And so I had to shift into a support role. And so it's something I actually repeat a lot, and my job is to support. My job is to not judge and support. So that has a really, huge personal meaning for me. And then of course, so emotional intelligence is so important. So just talking about it and all the other words that can go along with that.
Yeah, I think support is one of those trip words because I would say, generally speaking, people are really good at expecting it. Freaking miserable at articulating what that needs to look like.
I agree.
And on the other side, so let's just say I'm the person who wants and needs support, and y'all are my bosses. I'm going to complain that you're not supporting me. Y'all 100% believe you're supporting me. So like we understand what support means, but like, what does it actually look like? And I think it also changes situation to situation, case to case. So getting clear on what that actually means. Can you support me by sending this email to the team, recognizing them for what they did, is a clear demonstration of the support that I'm seeking. Me complaining that my executive leadership doesn't support me, or did you help them understand how to? So I think that's just one of those words where it's so easy I need support, I'm not getting support. And we say, oh yeah.
I think what Patrick is saying, exactly the same thing. Clear words communicated in a kind way, not beating around the bush. Yeah.
Here's the other thing that Jesse just said that's really important is that we have to have the same definition of the word or a similar one, or know each other's definition, right? Like, so alignment is a huge word that I use all the time, right? In business, I use it in my family. Like we have to be aligned. We have to have alignment. That doesn't mean we have to be the same. That doesn't mean we have to have the same definitions, but we have to be aligned, if we're working toward a common goal. Alignment is huge.
So
But
you used my words. So I was going to say my two words are alignment, because for me, alignment is not just about communication and being in alignment with people. It's also alignment with yourself and understanding your purpose in life. And so for me, it's always my higher self and what it is that my purpose in life, alignment with what it is that where I'm going to be my best in life. So alignment is one of my keywords. For me, also opportunity. A lot of times people see things that happen to them as negative.
Right.
And if you look at it in a different way and say, well, this is actually just an opportunity for you to either learn about yourself or to maybe do something you didn't think that you were going to do. So if you open yourself up to the possibilities is one of my other words, to the opportunities that are in front of you that you may not even know. I find our unconscious is trying to tell us shit that we don't listen to. And it's like saying, okay, I'm putting this shit in front of you. I'm putting all these roadblocks in front of you for you to finally figure out this is not what you're supposed to be doing, or you're supposed to be doing this, or whatever it is. So for me, it's about opportunities in challenges that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, I appreciate the value of reframing stuff. And it also drives me nuts when people call a problem an opportunity.
Ooh.
And so what I mean by that is we just actively seek out opportunities. These are things that we want. Problems are things that we have to deal with. And I'll go a little layer deeper. I had a boss who was notorious. I have an opportunity for you guys. And every time he said that, it was a bag of hot shit. But it was an opportunity. And it's like, bro, like we all know this is a hot bag of mess. Let's just talk about that. And so now like I started, I appreciate the value of reframing a situation, right?
Yes.
So for me, it's when I'm in a bag of hot poo, I start asking myself, what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
Calling it an opportunity for me is dismissive. And so it's again, one of those tripping, like I'm not sure. Now, I also understand that in Jesse land, aggressive, action-oriented, clear language is really important. And I also understand that very few people live in Jesse land. So I get it, but it's one of those things for me.
So let me ask you a question, though. That hot shit of mess that just came to you, isn't that an opportunity for you to set a boundary and say no as well?
Sure. Again, we can reframe it any way you want.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the situation itself is not an opportunity. That hot bag of mess is a hot bag of mess that needs to be dealt with.
Exactly. So how are we going to deal with it? I understand what you're saying. I also have seen, and I love the word also and by the way, are other words that I really love. So I see the things that you're saying. I also see that sometimes we deal with challenges in work and people won't speak up if they don't want you to help them. So that's why I reframe it as an opportunity. Because if people didn't want me to work with them, they wouldn't speak up.
Fair.
Right.
I don't know. That's just my thoughts on the word opportunity.
And I think you guys, are saying the same thing because Jesse wants to learn from the hot bag of shit. And, Sarah wants to call that learning opportunity, but I was really, I'm really drawn to the words that start with RE, like, especially if they are, like that, where you're literally reframing. Another one that I love that starts with RE is renewal, or like rebirth, because I feel like it's a little cliche, or but every day is the first day of the rest of your life, right? So every single day you have an opportunity to renew yourself, or to rebirth yourself, to be what you want to be, you know, and if you made mistakes, whether they're huge or small, you know, this is the first day of the rest of your life.
Yep. I'm going to pull up some of the other things. So Maria joining us from YouTube, she said so many opportunities and one problem. And she said it is both at the same time. I'm going to go to some of these comments that are coming in. And so Steve also said his favorite word that enables better alignment is trajectory.
That's a great word, Steve.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's fun to say. There's also, right, like there's words that are just fun to say too, right? Like if you would, you know, or like I'm one that I really like full vocabulary. You know, like when I text, I'm just, I don't know if it's I'm just Gen X or what, but when I text, I really like there to be like a sentence, and you know, I like to know the structure and the whole context of the thought, right? You know, but like when I'm texting my kids, I have to totally, you know, do that myself. Like, okay, when he says no problem, like NP, he means no problem, Mom, I got that. I'll take care of it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that takes us down a different route. So let's go to this one because that's one of my words that gets me tangled. Is no problem. I'm like, don't you mean you're welcome? Like, I'm like, stop it. Like, no problem. Like, then why did I even take the effort in doing anything if it was, no problem? You mean you're welcome?
Yes.
So that's a word that gets me tangled. Jesse, I'm going to start with you on this one, on words that get you tangled up the most.
Yeah, like we've touched on a couple of them already. The one that gets me tangled up the most is accountability. Because, and again, it's another one of those things that I'm on an island with the way I think about it, and I'm okay with it. Being on an island, that is. The thing about the way folks use the word accountability that drives me nuts is they want consequences. And it's like if they just replace the word accountability with consequences, we would be talking precisely about what it is they're irritated by. But they call it accountability. And the reason I struggle with it is because I don't see accountability as something that other people need to do. I believe that if I want people to be accountable, the best way to make that happen, rather, if I want accountability, the best way to make that happen is to be accountable. If I'm accountable, rather, when I'm accountable, I will move forward and deploy the appropriate consequences, positive and negative, to execute and move forward on a particular thing. For me to sit here and say our problem is accountability because y'all ain't doing punishing to other people, that doesn't make sense in my head, because what I'm doing by saying y'all need to hold these people accountable is abdicating my accountability. Like it's just this twisted thing that, and I'm not trying to, I know I can't convince people to see it differently. So I just got to the point where it's like, okay, we keep throwing this word around. Yep. What do y'all mean by accountability? What does that look like in the terms of what you're referencing, so that I can calibrate and align myself with that thought, because I get to leave and go back to my world. But it's just one of those words like, oh, here we go. Our problem's accountability. What the hell does that mean? That's like saying it's too sweet. What the hell does that mean?
So I want to understand. So it was funny. I tagged this one. There was a comment. So let us know. She said she loves accountability and self-awareness words. So I'm curious what you think about what Jesse just said. So Jen, what do you think about the word accountability? What's your perspective on it?
I love this conversation because Jesse and I've had it a lot. And I think first, ask yourself the question, how can you hold somebody else accountable? when it requires action on their part. And I just think when you stop and you make that kind of be the first thing, like, how can I hold Jesse accountable if it requires an action on his part, whether it's he cares, whether it matters to him, or whether, like how can I hold him accountable? And I'm not saying you can't put things in place, because I have things in place to help, there should be some accountability, but like, how can you do that? So for me, the accountability has been used as a weapon for a really long time. And when you use accountability as a weapon to be able to, you did this, you didn't do this, and you're going to do this because I'm like that. I mean, that's fine. There's a lot of things in our industry that are put in place like that. You're not creating accountability. You're creating compliance. And those are not the same thing.
Yes.
So for me, that's what
a good perspective to think about.
Accountability is. How are you helping people want to be more accountable? How are you creating an environment and a culture that, and the behaviors that they choose to do it because it matters? And so that's my view on accountability.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so glad you said that, because it's so true, right? We have to be accountable to ourselves and to the values we hold, right? So when you want accountability, you want to be surrounded by people that are doing the same, right? Yes. And if they aren't, then you have an opportunity to put on the boundary.
For an opportunity for alignment to achieve the appropriate trajectory.
Exactly, right. Yeah, let's throw all the fucking words together.
Awesome. Say that one more time. I want someone to type that.
What Jesse just said? Yeah.
What Jesse just said. Can you repeat that? He's like, no, I just came off.
We'll have to watch the replay.
Yes, exactly. All right. So a couple of other people have chimed in, and I'm going to pull some of these up. So Renee said, I despise when someone I reach out to says, what's up? It makes me feel like they are annoyed and can't be bothered.
Okay.
Yeah, we all have those little, like, I don't like in my personal communication with my family, mainly with my wife, I don't like a thumbs up. I just don't like it. I feel like I don't mind that in business communication. I don't mind that in anything. But for whatever reason, and she and I have talked about it, so she doesn't do it to me. But to me, it has like kind of a negative connotation. Like you can't say anything else, and you're just like, yeah, thumbs up.
Oh my gosh. So Alan says that the phrase that makes my head explode is, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Is it really what it is? Okay. Steve says, tangles me up, can't or won't. Ooh. What do you guys think about those?
Should is another one that's similar to
Good.
that. Right?
Yes.
Yep. So I love what Jen and Jess say about should. We're basically shoulding on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I stole that one from Angel. You shouldn't should on people.
Yeah, we had a guest on early on named Rochelle Moulton, and she was the one that I first heard that from. She said, well, I try not to should on myself.
Yeah. Well, on Steve's point, I would prefer won't. Rather, I can respect won't more than can't.
Yeah, it's definitive.
Yes, like it's not a question of, because can is a question of ability. Right. And if you can, like, you're pretty able, it's very unlikely that you're not able. If you don't want to, that's a whole different thing. And that's usually we're hiding the I won't behind the I can't. Mm-hmm. And so if you're just straight up and say, I ain't going to do that, like, well, all right, cool. That's pretty damn clear.
Yeah. Because I can't is most of the time you're choosing not to. Versus just admitting to it. Yeah, I agree with that. Stephanie also says, sometimes I'll try.
Yes.
Those non-committal words are the ones that,
Jennifer,
there's only one worse one. There's only one that is worse than I'll try.
What's that?
Jesse?
Sure.
when you ask somebody something and the reply is sure, that is not a committal word. That is a fine, whatever. I will acknowledge that you asked me to do something.
That's so funny. I use sure, but I mean, I'm like, sure, I'll do it. That's like a thumbs up.
Yeah, it's like
for
a
me.
thumbs up for Kate. I just sure. And,
Yeah.
and again, Jesse and I've had this conversation, and I know I'll try bothers him. It is non-committal. It is, I will tell you that I'm going to make the effort, but I am not obligated to get it done.
Mm.
And it could mean that I just like made a phone call, or I made an intention to go in that direction, but you know what, I got derailed and I'm over here, and so I'm okay. Like, it is a non-committal word.
Yeah.
What about I tried? Well, I tried.
Oh,
it's got that word in it. Like, try. you there's no try. You're either, it's a, what is it? Is it from Yoda? Like, there's no try. It's do or don't do.
Right. Yeah.
So, Sean just said this. So he said, great one. I appreciate the wisdom of Yoda. Do or not do. There is no try.
Thank you, Sean, very much.
And Stephanie said she was typing that herself as well. I use sure all the time, but I use it when I'm really flexible about something. So when my wife says, do you want this for dinner? I say, sure. Do you want to watch this show? Sure. Because I really that would be my answer for anything she asked, so no matter what it was she wanted for dinner, I would say, sure.
So why not say yes?
Yeah, I really don't care, so I'm just like, sure, so sure is my, whatever you want, that makes sense, I'm game.
I think where sure would annoy me is if people say sure and they don't mean sure. Like, I know it when Kate says sure, she's like, sure, I'm down for anything. Yeah. Like, whatever you want. It's when people say sure and they really don't mean yes. They really mean no.
Yeah. Right. I'll add, especially when I'm in group, and Jen, you know this, one of my nemesis, the nightmare situations for me is for people to plan to go to dinner together. Because it's a damn 60-minute freaking debate about who's going to drive, what are we going to eat, what do you like, or do you have any dietary restrictions, right? And I cannot stand that, because I could have eaten and gotten back by then. Anyways, when that's happening, and you probably noticed when we're doing it on our prep before we went live, when somebody makes a suggestion, I say, yes, I like that. Yes, let's do that. Yes, yes. Not that I necessarily care about what it's going to be, but because it moves forward movement. It drives forward movement. Like, oh, I'm thinking we should, man, that sounds great. Let's go to that one. Because people will definitively, no, I don't like that. Okay, what do you like? Okay, yeah, I like that too. And then let's make a damn decision, because the sure and yeah leaves it ambiguous. Right? Because a lot of times we're just looking for affirmation, and a definitive yes, let's do that gets the thing. I do the same thing during meetings, right? You have all right, so let's schedule a follow-up meeting.
Right.
When are y'all ready? When is a good time for that? Oh my God, I would have stabbed my eyes out. So I would just, how about next Tuesday at 2:00?
Yep.
Right.
Oh, well, hold on, let me check. Yeah, open your calendar, damn it. Let's make a damn decision. Sorry, but that's
no, I am with you 100%. Yes. I do know that I say, yeah, sure. I get the point exactly that you're saying, because it helps, especially in those food situations. But I'm also really good at saying no. Like, if I say sure, I'm really like, I don't care. That one, yeah, that's fine. If we want to do that, I will say no. And I think the problem is other people don't say no.
Right.
And to me, that is probably the one that gets me tangled the most, is when people just can't say the word no. Like, if you don't want to do it, just say no. Just let me know. Like, I don't give a shit one way or the other. I just want to know what it is that you're thinking and how it is you really feel.
Exactly. I want to circle back a minute to the I'll try, because I've been thinking about that as we were having that conversation. And I think what I have done over the last couple of years is, because there are so many times when you look back and you're like, damn, I tried so hard, right? And sometimes when it's something that, maybe you are like you wish it gone a different way or whatever. I try now. But I try to reframe that in my head, and I say, I did the best I could with the skills I had available to me at that time, right?
Yes.
So that is how I reframe it, you know. So because that's what it's about. When you don't have all the skills, or you are in a learning mode, you're still trying your ass off, right? You were still working hard. You just didn't have the skills you needed, or you didn't know what you needed to know, right? So that's what, for me, trying is really about. When it's more lackadaisical and people are like, well, I tried, you know, to me, that's like, there was this Reno 911 episode that was really funny, but there was this line. They were talking about trying as police officers. And the line is, we aim to try. That was the line. We aim to try. And I use that sometimes, because it's just such a ridiculous thing, right? We aim to try. So the line is, we aim to try. That should be our new motto. Put it right across the cars.
I love that.
Yeah.
So two things I wanna add. Like, I use fail instead of try. Right? I failed to finish the thing or make the commitment.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm going to do to get there, or this is how I'm going to reconcile the situation.
Yeah.
Because I failed for the very same reason you said, Kate, right? I didn't have the resources, I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the knowledge. So I failed. And again, that's, for me, that's very clear language, because in every failure is a learning lesson. All the time.
Yeah.
So it may just be an exchange of words. And I also want to make the point, like, I've been told this by many people over many years, that it's hard to be in my world, right? Like, it's hard to be my friend. And I know a large part of that is because of the way I use language, the way I define words. I don't judge people for the way they use words, right? Part of back to the curiosity thing at the beginning. I know people that use sure and the thumbs up and the maybe, and like, I know people that communicate that way. And I ask questions like, hey, you say sure a lot. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, are you like in, or yeah, totally. Oh, okay. So that's how you use it. And that's cool. Like, and we'll take this into the business realm. As a leader, I will have more success and serve better when I understand other people's context and definitions.
Yeah.
Like, the more multilingual I am, the better results I'll have, because I'm better equipped to serve the people in front of me. Whereas if I expect people to adopt my thinking and my language, that's an unreasonable expectation. So I want to say that to like all the awesome people out there, that like, I'm not judging you, and I'm not going to expect you to take on my language. And if you're hoping I'll take yours on, good damn luck. That's all.
Right.
I want to add, Kate, you just helped me get some clarity on something. And the way you just explained that is, I know why I struggle with I'll try, is that you cannot anticipate effort.
Ooh,
and when you say I'll try, it is a proactive statement to something that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Where if you say, like you said, I tried my best, I tried hard, like, that is a reactive to something you've already done versus a anticipating effort that hasn't happened yet. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
that's solid.
I don't like that either. I don't like hearing that proactively, like, well, I'm gonna try. Like, well, that feels to me like you're just going in half-ass. You know?
Yeah. I really love this, because every time I listen to Jen and Jess, and every time, Kate, you and I talk, it provides further clarity. And for me, I really love that word, because that's really what we're seeking. If we want to seek all words, we're seeking clarity in communication to, one, not put meaning on words that we haven't taken the time to understand what those words are. And we're also being curious to understand what it is people are actually saying and not putting judgment on the words until we get clarification of understanding whether you're in alignment. Was that good in adding all of those different words that we just...
Good job.
Sure.
Yes. Sure. Right?
Oh my gosh.
Sure was.
All right. We have some other
There's
comments
so many
coming in.
comments.
So Lori said, as a covering people pleaser, I'm working on saying no instead of trying to sugarcoat it.
I love it. I think that's ultra important, right? Like so it's probably a bad habit that I have, but I have fun with it. When people are non-committal, and whatever bucket of words they're using in the non-committal, I'll just say, oh, so that's a no. Well, that's not really what I'm saying. It still sounds like a no.
Right.
And what I'm trying to do is like take the pressure off of saying no. Like no is 100% reasonable response to the situation.
Yeah.
Am I going to be happy about it? Am I going to be disappointed? Probably, right? Would I really have loved a yes? Hell yeah. But you're a human too, and no is okay. And so, yeah, like Lori, I totally appreciate that. Like, don't sugarcoat it. No's no, and I'll survive, right? Because I'm a resourceful dude. I can go find somebody else to help me with the thing or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. There were some other comments in here, and so I have to pull this one up. She says, okay, I'm learning from this conversation that I'm in big trouble because I'm out here doing all the things.
No. She's like Mia, you're awesome. Maya, you are like super awesome. Don't even sweat it, girl. It's just, we just have different things. Like,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, just like triggers, like, and that's a word that's hard for me to right? But they're real, right? But just like triggers, that's my responsibility. So if I'm offended by the fact that you have done something, or if I'm triggered, it's still mine. I still have to own that, I mentioned it specifically with my wife. So I've asked her, like, please don't thumbs up. But I mean, the whole world thumbs up me, and I don't take offense, because I know that it's likely how they communicate,
Yeah.
but it's still my responsibility. It's my trigger. It's my, if I'm offended, that's my deal, so everyone should just do them.
Kate, I love that you're like taking ownership and responsibility of the trigger mechanism, because that's one of those words that really, you're going to see my eyes roll back in my head, say triggered, because the way a lot of people use it is accusatory. Like,
Right.
I triggered you. It's like, no. One of the other words that got thrown up there earlier is self-awareness. I need to be aware of what triggers my reaction so that I can manage that. Not so that I could tell the three of you, these are my triggers, tiptoe around me. Like, bullshit. You handle your own business, fool. Like, anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting excited.
No, I
triggered me.
Yeah. I triggered you with the word trigger.
So what about this word? Sean says, sorry is a word I'm learning to be careful with using and sharing with others, that we should be thoughtful when using it. We use it way too much.
Yeah.
My husband does sorry for me. And I'm like, I'm not looking for a sorry. I'm looking for us to come to an agreement on what it is that we're going to do. Like, I'm not asking for you to say sorry. Like, what are the actions that we're going to take that will be different so we don't deal with this shit again and again?
Yeah.
Yes. Like, sorry, I'm late. Like, I don't need you to be sorry. That doesn't help me. I need your ass to be on time. And I think we use the word sorry to, like, clear the board and everything's fine. Bullshit. Okay, I understand, like, you maybe feel a little guilty about being late, but what are you going to do so that this doesn't happen again? And I think sorry is one of those like cards that we throw out there that's like a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
And when that's the case, that ain't cool. Like I got issues with that.
You have changed my perspective on the things that I'm going to say. I'm going to start saying, I failed. It was my fail. So our words I am careful using. There is no failure, only feedback is what he's saying. But for me, the I'm sorry, it's really about I failed to show up.
Yeah.
I failed to, and a lot of times we say I apologize because I think sometimes people want to hear sometimes I apologize or I'm sorry, or the other thing is like when you have other priorities that overtook the meeting, we say I'm so sorry, I had an emergency, or things like that. I don't know. I'm on the fence on I apologize or I'm sorry sometimes, but it's also owning up to the failure. I failed to do this. Here's
Right.
what I'm going to do is the most important aspect, I think, that I'm taking from the conversation.
Yeah. And well, there's a couple things I want to say. One, I just did this to Sarah last week. I said, we didn't do our due diligence. And she wrote back, well, I think we did. And I wrote back, okay, no, I didn't do my due diligence. I'm sorry. I did not mean you too. I didn't do my due diligence, you know? So that to me was like, I failed in this instance, right?
Yes.
With apologies, there's so much beauty in a really well done apology, right? Like so we teach our kids, right, that it's not about saying sorry, it's about communicating, here's what I did, here's why it was wrong, and here's how I'm going to fix it in the future, right? So we literally teach our kids from the youngest age possible to kind of follow almost a framework when they are in the wrong, so that they really can kind of connect it. But it ends up being so much more of a validating experience for the person on the other end, because they hear, okay, you hear me and you know why that hurt me. And now you're telling me how you want to do it differently in the future,
So Jen, I'm going to pull this up. I want to get what your thoughts are. So the key is that we should use sorry thoughtfully and intentionally rather than an automatic response or process. Yeah. What do you think?
I'm going to tell you right now, this completely goes to my mom perspective because of being responsible for two teenage girls that are going to have to navigate in this world. And so it's not, I'm sorry does not go alone in our house.
Yeah.
I'm sorry also goes along with I promise. And so these are two things that we have a lot of conversations about, because and so I'll start with I promise and then we'll go to I'm sorry. But when we say I promise, which is not things that happen in this house, we do not promise things because we are setting things up for disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, we are setting ourselves up to have to apologize for something that maybe we did not have an intention to do in the first place. And so we have to understand, what does I promise mean? And is it something that you have the ability to do? So we have to dig into that, but they go hand in hand in our house, and trying to make sure that we don't just say, that's another one that's thrown out there a lot, is I promise. I promise. We say those things. What is a promise? And when we start really digging into what does that mean, we don't have to use that word. We don't. We need to be very clear in what we're saying. And then in this house, when we say I'm sorry, and you have two teenage girls, that is sometimes blasé, because I know I screwed up, but I really don't want to own it, but I know I need to get through the situation. And so we stop and what did we do? A lot of what Kate said. What did we do? Why are we apologizing? What is the action, so that we do not have to apologize for this again?
Right.
And those are just conversations that we dig into to just help them think through some things, and that words, like you said, words matter, but also like we are setting the circumstances up to either help us not have to do this again, or it will be repeated. And so that's kind of my perspective on those things. And so we do not say I promise either.
Yeah. I love that.
So I want to start with sort of final thoughts on words. And what I think I want to do is maybe focus on inspiring and motivating. And so, what words can be used to inspire and motivate others? Jen, do you want to start?
I will go because it's a word that most people would not associate with with those two characteristics. And so for me, the word hard is a word that inspires and motivates a lot of my internal drive. It is also a word that most people try to avoid, and not just the word, but the effort.
Yeah.
And so when I say hard work, this is hard. We're gonna have to put, we're gonna have to put that extra effort in. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. There's a lot of things we do in construction, and Jesse's very good at it to help us eliminate hard work that is to the detriment of our workers. That's a different conversation. Yeah. But having to work hard, having to sweat, having to put in a little extra time, or having sometimes to struggle to be able to get through something, there's nothing wrong with that. And for me, we try to avoid hard because we want to make sure everything's okay, and we're enabling, and we want everybody to have the world is not going to be that way. And so we've got to acknowledge that hard is not a bad word. It is a word that inspires me and that I can use, and it's something that I can hold on to and know that it's okay that I got through hard things, and it's okay that I put hard work into something, and on the other end it was amazing. But I also know that hard sometimes it's not going to feel great, but it doesn't mean we need to avoid it.
Yeah. I love that, Jen. I also I've always tried hard to notice hard work and to talk about it, right? So in all sorts of ways, of course, when I'm managing people, when my kids, there's a tendency for some parents to be like, oh my God, you're so smart, or da 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 da, and those types of things are great, but they're also kind of superficial, because you can be smart, but it doesn't mean a lot, right, if you aren't hardworking. So I try really hard to use the word hard when I'm talking to my kids, and I'll be like, you are such a hard worker, or you worked so hard on that. That is so awesome. I love that. Thank you for working so hard on that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Kate's picking on me because I'm smart and lazy.
Well, Jesse, what words inspire or have you found to inspire and motivate others?
So I feel like it's inspire and motivate's a little softer or less actionable in my brain, but I get what you're talking. So this word is like my secret weapon. It's like the key that unlocks people, and it's experiment. Right. And so when I'm coaching people one-on-one, or I'm working with the project team or a department with the business, and there's something like that needs to change, but all the resistance, like all the what if, it's like it's almost every time I say, well, how about we run an experiment?
Right.
And they're like, oh, yeah, like let's do these two things for a week or two, which was the plan. Like that's what we were stuck on. And if I throw the word experiment in there, or I'm working with somebody one-on-one, like I'm going to start a business and I'm not sure, like what if nobody did it? Like, well, why don't you run an experiment? Well, I could do that. And it's the same, like the action is the same, but when I use the word or invoke the word experiment, it seems to give people, they give themselves permission to get off center and take steps towards doing the damn thing.
Right. There's a comment here from Christopher Johnson that I really love. I want to pull up. Fail forward, right? That's what an experiment can be, right?
100%.
Yeah, that's the beauty of an experiment. Is that even if it's a failure, you're still moving forward. You learn something. On to the next experiment. Tweak it. Do it better.
Yep. And like Sean, like I appreciate Sean's comment earlier about being careful with using the word failure, because a lot of people have a different relationship with the word. They definitely don't have the same relationship I do. Right. And so, like you said, Kate, that experiment idea is like, like it's at that point now we're playing almost.
Mhm.
And we release the Kraken when we get into experiments.
Yeah. Kate, so what about you? Things that you could be words or things that inspire and motivate others.
Come back to me. I need to think.
Ooh.
Go to Jen.
I already gave you mine. I went first.
Me. Hard.
What about you? You're right. What about you?
I'm curious about the audience as well. So, what other words do you feel are inspirational or motivational? For me, maybe it's more of an action than it is actually a word, but I used this the other day. So we rotate amongst our group in having different facilitators. And one of the things we learned that I learned from Jen was to do icebreakers. And so we do an icebreaker, and the person that leads the effort has to come up with whatever the icebreaker is. And within our group, the last person, Jen Renfro, came up with identify a word that that basically is about you, like how you show up at work. And for me, it was interesting when I chose my word, what I felt from people when I said the word, and I felt like it inspired them. And so my word was vulnerable. And the reason I chose that is, as a leader, we have to be vulnerable to making mistakes, realizing we don't know all the answers, being able to own up to making mistakes, because that's ultimately modeling for others. It's okay to make mistakes.
Right.
So for me, the more vulnerable I get as a leader, the more courage that I see amongst other people to become more themselves and to feel that they can also experiment and also do things that maybe they wouldn't necessarily be able to feel comfortable doing had I not shown to them I'm willing to admit to my mistakes. I'm willing to own up to shit that I don't know, and those types of things. So for me, the word was vulnerable. And for me, I found that continues to motivate people. The more vulnerable you get, the more people connect with you, and the more they see you as human. And that's really, the point in everything.
Yeah. Vulnerability was so cool too when you did that, because she it just really kind of like sat for a second. Everybody kind of was like, oh, you could just kind of feel it. I can't believe I forgot what my word was, but my word is badass. Being a badass, seeing badassery, like that motivates me. If somebody says that's badass, I'm like, yeah, like I want that. I want that all over. I want to feel badass, and it encompasses authenticity, and it encompasses, motivation. It's just, I think it's a great word.
I love that. And it's about what we try to do. It's what we do.
Yeah, right. It is what we do.
That's so funny. See, even as you're speaking, you have to correct sometimes the words. It's about connecting to the things that you say, and in the moment saying those things differently. So one other thing I do want to share is that my vocal teacher growing up in high school had a trash can up in the top on a shelf, and it said "you" on it, and it was a can. So you can. He would always let us know that when we say we can't, we won't.
Oh, got it.
And so for us, one of the things in singing is when you choose not to strive to hit that higher note or to do the work that you need to do, it's you choosing that you can't. And I loved that because it always stuck with me. And then it happened with my daughter as well. when she was in gymnastics, they had to do 10 burpees whenever anybody said the word can't. And not only did she have to do it, but everybody else had to do it along with them. So not only were you put through the consequences, you then put everyone else through the consequences to break you from saying the word can't. So but she learned really quick not to say the word can't. It's more, I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do to be able to do it. And so I also love the word can. We can do things if we choose to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to go take a look at anything else that has come in. Buddy joined us as well. He said his word is vulnerable as well. Sean also said imperfection and authentic. And Lori said, yes, we need to really be mindful of our words. And so hopefully this really helped people to rethink the words that they use. And I find that a lot of times it's unlearning the things that that's really what life is about, is unlearning some of the habits or some of the things that we've done in life, or we've picked up from our parents, our teachers, from our coworkers, just things that we've learned. So I hope that today was allowed people to be able to rethink about the words that they use, allow them to be curious about the words that they use, experiment and use the different words and realize that it's hard. And all of that allows you to be a badass.
Yeah, those are great final thoughts, Sarah.
Oh, so Kate, do you want to send us off for the week? And also next week, I'm trying to think what we're going to be talking about. Maybe while you give final words or final send off, I'll look and see what we're doing next week.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so first, thank you so much, Jen and Jess. This was amazing. I loved it. This is one of, Jen and I have maybe exchanged a couple of messages, but this is one of the first times I got to really connect with you outside of one of your workshops. So I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I would think that, what I want to say to our audience is that words are important. We know that. We all know that. We have to be, strategic and thoughtful about the words we use. But what it really boils down to is not judging what words are used around you, but finding the common definitions and the alignment. And, that's what it's all about, because we aren't in a vacuum. We aren't on these islands. We are all together and kind of in this together. So words are an amazing tool that we all have, but just like anything else, in order for them to work, it requires alignment and definition. So keep that in mind as you thoughtfully and intentionally use your words this weekend and next week.
So I'm going to also, Mia has here, she said, amazing. I really love words, and there's that. And you guys are so easy to listen to, the thought-provoking Fab Four. I have to head out, but awesome day. And so as a reminder, No BS Tribe is meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. What's your topic?
Tomorrow morning, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. So tomorrow, Sarah,
yes,
you kind of sparked this conversation in the after party.
Oh, did I?
In fact, you absolutely drove it. It's if you could create the rules and you could create the perfect, what's going to work, what would it be?
Ooh.
That sounds awesome. Juicy.
It does.
Yes.
So Kate, get the hell up and join us.
Like,
I love it. I'm such an insomniac, and I struggle sleeping all week, and I just sleep really well on Fridays and Saturdays. But I'm gonna try so hard. Go to sleep early.
Yes, no. Oh, that's hilarious.
I love you guys.
All right. So next Friday, we're going to be talking about slowing down and gaining clarity. And so, how slowing down can also help you with really gaining clarity versus feeling like you always need to be in action. So, that's one of the things we're going to be talking about next week. And then we also have some great guests coming up. And so, we're going to be doing this every month. At the end of the month, so we're going to have a topic that Kate and I are going to discuss on the first of the month. We're going to have 2 guest speakers in the middle of the month, and then we're going to have our panel at the end of every month. So I hope everybody comes back and joins us. And I just want to thank you both for being unfiltered and helping us with our first unfiltered perspective panel. I really appreciate you guys joining us. It was an amazing conversation.
Really
Thank you for having us.
Vulnerability, intention, creativity.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.